Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to our Dungeons and Dragons game. I'm your host, the Dungeon Master, and when we last left our adventurers, they had the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and indigo pieces of the Rod of Seven Parts. And in this adventure, they were after the seventh and final piece of the rod, which was the violet colored piece. But before we get into all that, smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and leave us a comment. That helps us out with the YouTube algorithm, but also we love hearing from you guys. We've got an awesome community here, and that's thanks to you. So thank you so much for being here. So, having said that, let's dive in. In the prologue of today's story, the party travels to the plane of chaos, also known as Pandemonium, a plane of endless tunnels filled with roaring winds that can drive characters mad. And that is exactly what happened. The heroes had to make a wisdom saving throw with a DC of 20, and half of them failed. So, right off the bat, my players were annoyed. I was having trouble finding the information I needed about the actual game mechanics. The D&D module itself was telling me to refer to a chapter that none of us could find anywhere in the module. So I Googled it and saw references to each character losing 3d10 points of intelligence if they failed their saving throws. And then on top of that, they went into a berserker rage akin to what a barbarian experiences. So they were forced to attack their fellow party members. And honestly, this went on longer than the entire rest of the adventure. My players were already sick of this campaign. They wanted it to just be over, and they couldn't even enter the dungeon. They were stuck out here dealing with the winds of pandemonium. Athel Hina finally cast a spell. We had to look that up, and I'm not 100% positive now what it was called. I think it was Remove Curse, but the point is that it finally worked, and everyone came to their senses. Uh, and but they were low on hit points and hadn't even entered the castle yet. Speaking of which, up ahead, they see a tremendous promontory soaring from the tunnel's soggy depths and rising halfway to the loddy roof. A fortress like no other they'd ever seen caps the outcropping. They seem to be fairly close already, but as the minutes pass by, the party realizes that the promontory and fortress are still a vast distance away. The sheer size fooled their senses. The peak must be at least 7 miles high, and the fortress that crowns it is half a mile on each side. Arthur has six of the seven pieces of the rod of seven parts now, and they guide him towards the outer towers of the Citadel of Chaos, which was Area 1 on the map that came with this adventure module. These buildings are 400 feet high. They contain passages that lead out to the battlements atop the walls, plus spiral staircases that lead down into the courtyards and up to their flat tops. But otherwise, they are completely solid. The towers are totally deserted. So, just like in last adventure, the PCs wander through empty rooms for a bit. Then they reach area number 3, which is the courtyard. And here they find 6 spider demons called Kaku. So Max uses Grabthar's hammer to shoot lightning, killing all of them. Then they go on to area 4, also known as the battlements. The player characters encounter another spider demon, but this one is called a Fisarazu. Eliza does more damage than anyone else in this battle, but in the end, it was Bart who killed it. The player characters then encounter 5 more Kaku. Arthur kills one. The gestalt that's made out of those 5 clockwork panthers, it kills one. And Ithilhina casts Fireball, and then that takes out the rest of them. The heroes then search Area 5A, aka the entry tower, but there's nothing here. Same goes for Area 5B, which is the main tower. Same goes for Area 5C, the bridge towers. But then they get to Area 5D, the guard towers, and Legatus, the clockwork dragon, attacks a spider demon called a Spith Riku. And when Max tries to shoot the spider demon with lightning, she rolls a critical failure and electrocutes Legatus. The brass clockwork dragon is fried and dies, his glowing blue eyes growing dim and dark. And then it is Bart who kills the demon. Then the party gets attacked by an old enemy named Hamish. And this campaign has been going on for so long now, for years, that they didn't even remember who Hamish was. They'd encountered him right before they obtained the first piece of the rod of 7 parts back in the Temple of Elemental Evil. Hamish was the one who banished Arthur's twin brother, Mad Dog, through time and space. And then Hamish told them that they'd meet again. Then he himself vanished into time and space. And now here he is. The players had no idea who he was, which really makes Hamish mad. And then to add insult to injury, Bart uses his breath weapon and he kills Hamish in one hit. And Hamish wasn't alone. His partner in crime was Celine, the vampire assassin who had seduced Arthur when this campaign began. And she actually killed him. He was an immortal, but his avatar to go adventuring in was a werebear body, and it had a vulnerability to cold iron. So Celine slept with him so that he would take his armor off. Then she plunged an iron dagger into his heart, killing him. And as an immortal, his soul returned to his home plane for a number of days equal to his hit points. Once he was out of timeout, he returned to the tavern that the PCs were using as their base of operations. And when he got there, he discovered that they'd gone to Baradoon's potion shop and bought a potion of resurrection, which they used to bring that body back to life again. So now there were 2 Arthurs. One was immortal, and then the other one had the scar over his heart. The one with the scar eventually was given the nickname Mad Dog, and he is the one Hamish banished. Mad Dog would end up being the inspiration for some Arthurian legends about how King Arthur had a twin brother named Mad Dog. Point being, the party knows all of this, and they know Celine is the one who plunged the cold iron knife into his chest, killing him. And since Max loves Arthur, she was both jealous that Arthur had slept with this woman, but she was also mad that Celine had hurt him. So Max engages Celine in combat and things go bad. And it looks like Max might die. So Arthur takes a swing at Celine using the Club of Dagda, and he rolls a critical failure. So in a heartbreaking moment that everyone hated, Arthur hits his beloved Max by accident, and Max dies. Arthur is extremely upset, and then Celine turns Max into her undead minion. And zombie Max attacks Arthur. In the end, Ithielhina pours out her wineskin of water, and she uses that kind of like a spell component for her flood ability. So she fills the entire room with water and then she turns it into holy water. And Selene, the vampire, is finally killed, but Arthur is grief stricken. The player characters then arrive at Area 5E, also known as Miska's Tower. They kill two Spith Riku spider demons. Then they take on Miska the wolf spider, who is holding the final piece of the Rod of Seven Parts. Bart hits her with his breath weapon many times, and Gamish hits her multiple times with Grabthar's hammer, doing really good damage with each hit. He was getting amazing rolls. So Miska uses her spells and her control of the undead. And at the start of this campaign, Gamish had died. He became a ghost. And he can possess a steampunk body that he made. But Miska basically exorcises his spirit from that body, and the soul of Gamish is finally banished to the great beyond. So now Arthur loses his best friend, too. Miska also uses her +5 scimitar of disintegration against Valerius, who is the clockwork guy made out of those 5 shield device panthers. So Ethelhina casts a spell that repairs that damage. And then finally, it's Valerius who strikes the killing blow, and Miska is slain. And Arthur connects the final piece of the Rod of Seven Parts to the other pieces. He then goes to where Atropos, the Endbringer, is, and he uses the Rod of Seven Parts on the world-born dead. Atropos sends his angels of decay, and Arthur kills them all. Then Arthur kills Atropos, bringing an end to this campaign. What the party has come to think of as the ultimate evil is finally dead. But half of them died on this quest. And the survivors feel pretty awful. And while the existing D&D planets are all gone now, at least Arthur's homeworld was spared. So he uses the Rod of Seven Parts to teleport everybody to the Metamorphosis Alpha, which is the enormous starship that they found adrift in space, and they set a course for Earth. And after all of this time, Arthur's finally going home, which brings us to the epilogue. When the Metamorphosis Alpha finally reaches Earth, it is now Christmas time of 2012, and the ship is so big, its arrival is anything but a secret. So on December 21st, the world sees the gigantic starship in the skies over Europe. It is followed by countless spelljammers carrying the refugees from tons of worlds that the heroes tried to evacuate. And the Metamorphosis Alpha radios London, and when asked who they are, King Arthur tells them that after all this time, he has returned. So what happens next is, of course, our version of the once and future king, but that's a story for another day. We hope that you liked this. If so, as always, smash like, make sure you're subscribed, leave us a comment, all that jazz. And from all of us here at our Dungeons and Dragons game, we hope that you have a good one, and we'll see you in the next adventure. Bye.